Are you pushing through your day thinking nonstop effort is the price of success? You're likely caught in the continuous work trap, a state of mind where your drive is actually eroding your clarity, energy, and effectiveness. It's a pattern that quietly moves you further and further from your true cognitive potential, your optimal executive function state. The reality is, the brain is not designed for continuous output. When you ignore recovery, performance doesn't hold steady. It enters diminished capacity. Your decision-making becomes reactive, your working memory falters, and your nervous system enters a prolonged state of stress that essentially turns your effort against you. I'm Dr. Randy. Today, I'm bringing a perspective that high achievers often miss. Your brain runs on rhythm, not relentless output. I'm going to show you how to protect your most important professional instrument and why strategic recovery is the only way to sustain true excellence. Earlier this week, I sat with a capable, driven professional who was exhausted, but it was in a way that had very little to do with sleep and everything to do with pressure. Now she understood the value of things like breathing resets, walking, and even consistent neurofeedback training. In fact, she'd experienced those benefits before, yet, for some reason, she wasn't doing any of them. It wasn't because she doubted the science, but you see, she simply couldn't justify stepping away from a high-pressure job that demanded constant output. Every single time she considered taking even a 5-minute break, a familiar thought surfaced. I can't afford to stop, or I have to make this call. Here's the thing, the fear of falling behind or missing something important felt stronger than the knowledge that her brain actually needed to recover. Ironically, that very devotion was driving the pattern that was slowly eroding her clarity, her energy, and her effectiveness. This is what I call the continuous work trap, and it's fueled less by poor time management than it is by fear and simple misunderstanding. So why is it that effort without recovery always backfires? Well, modern professional culture rewards visible effort. We see the person who pushes through lunch and answers late-night messages, and they appear dedicated. Many high achievers quietly believe that nonstop effort is just the price of staying competitive. But certainly from a neuroscientific standpoint, this is precisely backwards. Now look at it this way. The brain isn't actually designed for continuous output. It functions best through rhythmic cycles of focused effort followed by recovery. When that recovery is ignored, your performance doesn't just hold steady, it gradually declines, often without you even realizing it. You'll notice thinking becomes less precise, patience gets shorter, and creativity narrows. Believe me, it doesn't happen dramatically, it just accumulates. But how exactly does the brain run on rhythm rather than relentless output? Well, understand that human cognitive performance naturally rises and falls in cycles of approximately 75 to 90 minutes. So you see, at the end of each cycle, the brain desperately needs a brief recalibration. Ignoring this doesn't build stamina. It just suppresses the signals that protect your neurological efficiency. And when we consistently defer that recovery, some very predictable things start to happen. First, your decision-making becomes more reactive and less strategic. Your working memory becomes less reliable under pressure. Your emotional tolerance thins, usually showing up as irritability. And finally, error detection softens, which is how those small mistakes start slipping through unnoticed. Perhaps most deceptive of all is that subjective sense of productivity. You feel busy, but you're actually operating further and further from your true cognitive potential. Now, if we're going to have a meaningful conversation about this, we have to address the real barrier, and that's fear. Certainly, high-performing professionals don't avoid breaks because they lack knowledge. They avoid them because stepping away feels risky. Fear of missing a message or disappointing leadership. But here's the reality. These fears are deeply human. Many nonstop workers aren't being careless with their well-being. They are just serious about their obligations. Yet here's the paradox. The very pattern you adopt to protect your performance eventually undermines your brain's ability to sustain it. Now, alongside fear, there's another issue. We often fail to see the brain as a precision instrument. Most professionals care about results but give very little attention to the biological machine producing them. You wouldn't run a high-performance vehicle without maintenance, so why expect your brain to function optimally under continuous strain? So what does a real recovery actually look like? The truth is, not all breaks restore the brain. Many just distract it. True recovery is about lowering stimulation. Effective resets often include just a few simple things. Brief movement, like walking outdoors, slow, paced breathing to steady the nervous system, or even just closing your eyes for a moment to reduce that cognitive load. You see, these practices don't take a lot of time. They just require a shift in perspective. Most professionals believe they can't afford to pause, but in truth, they can't afford not to. At the end of the day, the key shift is psychological. Protecting the brain that produces your work isn't indulgent, it's intelligent stewardship. By the end of my conversation with that client, she realized that her resistance wasn't laziness, it was fear. Once we named it, recovery felt less like a retreat and more like a strategic commitment to staying sharp. Because certainly effort and discipline will always matter. But without recovery, that effort eventually turns against you. Respect the rhythm of engagement and renewal. It's really the only way to stay at the top of your game.